distinguished guests and speakers, my relatives, that's uncles, aunts, and cousins, friends, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I have a confession to start. When invited to speak by my Auntie Peggy, actually I was very, very reluctant. I'm not your typical speaker here, unless all the past TKK forums, they were all professors, researchers, historians. I'm nowhere near that. So, but then as I looked at it as a great-grandson of Tan Kah Kee, I felt that I had an obligation to share my personal journey and experience during the 3.5 years, very memorable for me, when I was working in China as a CEO of Hyflux. And that was during the period of 2011 to 2014. Now, during that time, my struggles in a very highly complex market, basically how I dug deep into my core values, core personal values, to stay afloat and as well to excel. And above all, also remembering the everlasting philosophy of Tan Kah Kee, who I believe is still relevant in today's context, doing the right thing when conducting business in China. Now, Hyflux has been in the news lately, but this session isn't meant for you or the media to gossip some more and to talk about things, right? But make no mistake, Olivia Lam was my boss. It's a highly, highly demanding boss, but very respected boss. She supported and guided me a lot during this period of time. She knew China inside out, and I'm most grateful to her. Now, the transformation of China under President Xi Jinping could be felt at all levels when I was there. Example, the austerity measures that rocked the way the Chinese government worked. Now, many books have been written for foreigners like myself, right, on how to do business in China. But I felt that none really gave the insights and the strategic guidance to deal with your daily street wars and the hazards. I faced huge challenges, deep cultural differences between provinces, complexity of the Chinese government and how they made decisions. For example, in Singapore, when you do water projects, you go to PUB, right? Public Utilities Board. In China, there are 7 government agencies. You multiply that by all the hierarchies, from federal government to province to state to city and so on. And that's how complex they are. So my conclusion then, personal conclusion, is there's no such thing as China. But China is made up of 20 over provinces and they're all different. Now, in China's water industry, there was a shrinking market share for all the foreign players. Everyone competed for the space, and in 2014, the total market share for all the foreign players was less than 11%. So there was a clear preference for Chinese state-owned enterprises. And so who had basically 90% of the share, and therefore for foreign companies like us, competing for new business was just very tough and just got tougher. I was then also managing the existing Hyflux portfolio. We had 40 over projects in 8 provinces, 5 joint venture partners, 2 of which were Japanese, 1 American, and 2 Chinese. About 1,000 staff, mostly locals, local Chinese. So there was high stress, high pressure to deal with all the operations, people issues, battle with many of the stakeholder issues, meet business and financial goals. Very, very stressful. So, and therefore, to facilitate the ease of doing business, temptations to give and to receive favors were there. Meanwhile, the Chinese government was aggressively targeting, investigating all the specific areas like environmental pollution and corruption. Water was definitely in the space, in the government's radar. And guess what? I was working in the water space. So, guided by this Tan Kah Kee's philosophy of doing the right thing when conducting business in China, I wish to today share 3 case studies to illustrate how I managed to stay afloat there. The format I'll use will be very simple. I'm going to go through very fast because of time factor. I'll talk about, for each case study, I'll talk about the background, the challenges, and then I'll show some of the problem-solving angle and solutions, and then the lessons learned. Case studies will include things like the first one, building, operating high flux, largest wastewater treatment plant in Zunyi. Zunyi is in Guizhou. And then the second one is measuring out of specifications equipment that actually harm the community. The third is how disciplining the internal staff for ethical breaches of conduct. Now, just to give everybody a sense of the ecosystem, very simply put, if you go from left to right, number 1, 2, 3, water comes in. Okay, this is how water is managed. Water comes in, it goes into a purification, and it goes into the residential areas. If there's not enough water, the recycle element comes in, the desalination comes in. And then, in addition, water also does go to industrial use, right, where they use it for different purposes. And when they excrete out so-called the wastewater, it's collected, treated, and then the clean water is discharged. Okay, very simply put, that's how the water cycle runs in most countries. For high flux, as a quick introduction, we were involved in all areas. In addition, having the membrane, we were involved in desalination, recycling, water treatment, and potable water treatment, involved in different areas. Now, in 2010, based on this particular report, high flux was considered a pretty major player. In terms of capacity and market share, we were top 6, top 10 in the world. In the desalination, 海水淡化, it's actually top 2 in the world. Okay, so this is not small feat, and therefore we were competing with these kind of foreign players all along the way. Okay, let me jump into case number 1, and this talks about this building of the largest wastewater treatment plant. So during the period that I was there, the project was so-called awarded 2011, and then subsequently went online and operational in 2013, so 2 years later. All right, a very quick picture to show you. Firstly, this is one of the largest wastewater treatment plant in China, right? About 150,000 cubic meters per day, serving 70% of the 900,000 population in that region. Now, it is also high flux largest plant operation, but in terms of wastewater treatment plant, it's one of the largest in China. So the PPP, the public-private partnership contracts were awarded February 2011. We went operational in 2013. Now, you look at the picture, right? The first picture here is what I saw when I arrived in 2011. Okay, I was standing right there, and then I was told that by my team, okay, this is what we are tendering for to build a wastewater treatment plant. And I asked them, where? They said, there. I said, where? And they said, there. Now, normally, if you look at water treatment plants elsewhere, it's flat land, right? Now, you have a topography, mountainous, irregular shape, 4.3 hectares, which for that kind of capacity, usually they take double the size. Okay, so the first challenge was trying to convert this to eventually we convert it into this. Okay, and sometimes in China, the engineering feats are incredible. They can do anything. Right? So they built, literally, the team built, with the purely all 100% Chinese, built this plant on this mountain. And it's intended to help improve the Xiangjiang River system, ecological environment, economic development of the city. Now, the challenges we faced were, at that point in time, project timing was typically overrun, over budget. The team was very silo. The business development team usually don't talk to the engineering, procurement, and the construction team. They don't talk to the operations team. And then the stakeholder issues are multiple. They didn't manage government very well. They didn't manage the village people very well, the Lao Baisin. And then the inadequate staff and contractor supervision. And therefore, the leadership for the projects usually just kept, the project ended up, falling behind most of the time. So there were the 3 areas that we looked at, so-called problem solving. First one relating to staff. The important point is that this area is really, in our language, in the boondocks. Okay? And we wanted the team to really understand what this terrain is, what the stakeholders is all about, and then appointed a new project leader to come in. This project leader is actually Malaysian Chinese. Now, interestingly, and some of you, like my cousin Jill's, he was actually an HR director. Used to work for Capital Land in China. Biology major. Right? The most unusual background, but I put him as the operations leader. Everybody in the company questioned the decision. My boss supported the decision. He turned out to be so-called the best operations person. I call him my sergeant major because he could control the environment, could control the workforce, and he knew how to manage people. So the project leader came along, he hired his lieutenants, and then they most of them, except him, relocated to the Tier 3 city. And Tier 3 city, when you saw the picture out there, it's really, there's nothing. There's one hotel, and the hotel, I think, is a negative star, not 3 stars. Right? I'm serious. I bring my bed sheets and pillowcase there when I go travel, just simply to, Okay, so it's the kind where the place was simply just developing. So, and then we had lots of full-time support, full support for the staff. The staff there had to be treated very differently. They had to be given extra benefits for the family and then regular engagement. Weekends, this project leader flew down there to have drinks with them, that kind of high maintenance with tender loving care. The second area was the operations side. Now, we started to adopt international practices in there. Public-private partnership principles, looking at what it takes to win, which means this is a government project. The government had to win in order for us to win, to make money. Secondly, we employed project management best practices, but highly customized to the local environment. We tweak things. Thirdly, concurrent engineering, in doing things together, forcing the team to come together a lot. We put the right technology, more expensive technology. Most people will say, okay, this is the Boondocks place, maybe second, third level technology will be fine, but we put in the right technology inside there. And then, of course, the communications. The next one was stakeholders. Now, this was probably the most important area. The reason is that we felt that we were going into, as you can see, a forest with houses, in Singapore's term, atap houses, right, scattered all over the place. And we were going to build this plant that processes wastewater. In other words, smelly. And so there was a need to really engage the stakeholders, decision makers from the mayor all the way to the villages. So we added, in our engagement, in my profit and loss statement, we added actually a line item of expenditure that you don't see in other projects called stakeholder management, stakeholder engagement. And that the money was used to actually provide jobs to the people, conduct parties, right? Provide education, project communication, simple, inexpensive dinners. And these were all above board, all conducted above board to engage, to talk, to communicate, to share, to build. And then a lot of things that we do here, we gave the credit to the government. Right? Everything was above board, and the face was very important for the government. And then, of course, in any kind of celebration events, we adopted this public sector government, private sector us, and then the people's angle. So these were the so-called solutions that we moved on, where ultimately this project was done faster and cheaper than the budget, and then we got a second expansion plan even without tendering. Key lessons learned: do the right thing for the staff. Right? You just need to motivate. You're going to get again the trust, and the family support, especially sending them to a Tier 3 city like this, was very, very, very important because these are human beings. And then for the company, just the cost effectiveness of just making sure that they do it right with the right savings, and then the right ROI, return on investment there. For the stakeholders, primarily the villagers, the people, the community there, we needed the ownership, the trust, the warm welcome. The warm welcome was very, very important because once they gave their open arms, many things could be done. So the investment in this stakeholder engagement was very critical. And then finally, the local government, by doing so, again, the ability to show how they are, a lot of credit was given to them that, this is the mayor's, Sichang's idea and so on, right? So we gave them the evidence of a successful foreign direct investment, and most of them were all promoted from there, okay? So that was case number one. Number two. Now this one the next two cases gets a bit more tricky, right? There are out of specifications infrastructure, things that should not necessarily be that way, and therefore they are hurting the community. As a map, this is what high flux portfolio looked like. We have projects over primarily 8 provinces, 40 plus projects. And those circled ones are all the wastewater treatment plants. Okay, the circled ones are wastewater treatment plants. So we got wastewater treatment plants different places. And some of them were built by us, some of them were acquisitions. We bought it from, say, government, state-owned enterprises, whatever. Now, this is a simple flow for laymen to understand, okay? From left to right, the left side are just pictures of factories. Factories that do industrial production of products. So industrial, and some of them are, therefore they produce things that end up having wastewater that are very toxic, okay? And so these are the treatment that they are all channeled towards the wastewater treatment plant in all the wastewater treatment plants that you saw on the previous slide, okay? And so this is a typical example of our system. I won't go into the details of what they are, but the black box here treats these wastewater, and so that it comes out and then clean water and they are discharged back into the river. Okay, this is a very simple input process, output process. Okay, now the problem was that, and this is at that point that when the President Xi Jinping was going after the corruption and so on, many of these things were uncovered. When the wastewater were coming out, these plants and the management in there decided to shut down the input valve, okay, input channel. Instead, many of these plants had secret bypass discharge channel, okay? And then, therefore, they go bypass this, therefore saving a lot of money, because saving a lot of money meaning they don't spend, but yet they still report to the headquarters that they are spending. They go in cahoots with the suppliers, and then money is shared. And then they come out with things like this. When rivers and water, and rivers in China, many times you see a multicolored. Right? So your clean discharge here doesn't happen. Instead, you see things like this. The picture is not so clear, but this is just an example of where polluted water is being pumped out. Okay? So unfortunately, this happens, and this is something that is quite widespread. And that's one of the reasons why the government's objective to clean this up and to really go after it was absolutely necessary. So without going into detail, the report here talks about basically government officials being involved, instructing people instructing the plant what to do, and all the so-called illegal stuff they were instructing. So at the end of the day, it's because of this, right? So this is the nature of our things, and the problem-solving part. We started to hear as a result of the Chinese government's investigation that they were going after all the foreign Taipiao. Right? The foreign Taipiao is a company rep, legal rep, and it's not so clear in our Western world concept. But in Chinese concept, the foreign Taipiao, when they pick you up, there's no trials. You go straight to jail. So I used to joke with my wife, I had to pack a little small bag at the side and, in the midst of all the investigation, because you really don't know what you'll find. Okay? And because I was foreign Taipiao for high flux. But we consulted the legal for comprehensive action plan, extreme consultation, right? Then we started to summon for emergency meeting with all the plant managers of our wastewater treatment plant. So we dealt with our own things first, that we can control. We summoned them in the presence of legal HR, and then everybody had a sheet of paper in front of them, explain to them the purpose of meeting, and ask them to sign a declaration. Declaration that they either know that the plant has or doesn't have a secret discharge. Okay? With the promise that if they confess, if they say they know, we will help them in restoring the operations. No penalty. If they lie and we find out, the full burden of the disciplinary action will come along. And then from there, we found X percentage confess. I can't reveal how many percent. And some of them are because the acquisition, the plant came along with it already, right? Ultimately, we had to fix the problems, right? So ultimately, this has got to be done. So as a key lesson here, do the right thing for the staff. There was a need to expand the staff training from the standpoint of looking at even societal values here. Not just your core values, but societal values are very important. For a company, we had to protect our assets, protect our reputation before things happen. Protect myself as Farang Tai Piao. Then, of course, for stakeholders, right? Stakeholders, for the community, that is, right? It's about protecting the lives of people and then saving the environment. And then finally, the local government is just the need to align with them on their national objective to clean up all these. Case 3. We had also, unfortunately, discovery of things, which then led to internal disciplinary actions. This is one of the business unit and your typical org structure. You have the assistant general manager, you have the assistant general manager for sales, for technical director, right? This guy had an assistant, this guy had 2 senior managers and a regular sales manager. Okay, a very typical thing for a business unit. Now, unfortunately, we discovered that a separate company name in Chinese in Chinese name for high flux, I won't mention the name, was very similarly organized. And 5 of these heads, they formed a company outside on their own, registered under their wives' names. And this gentleman here was the chairman of this company, and he was actually a senior manager, a senior management staff in High Flux. So these were all sideline activities where they were doing this, and we uncovered this. Now, so as you look at this, right, the analysis of the financial performance was the first giveaway. For a business, and from what I've seen in profit and loss statements, there's no way that your financial statement looks that way. So that gave the first indication. We couldn't get a lot of information. I used to talk to the 5 or 6 of them, asking each of them questions. Even in my poor Chinese, I asked them. And it'll be one person answering me. Every time I ask A, B will answer. I ask C, B will answer. And this went on for a few weeks. It was very clear that they were aligned internally. Okay, they didn't want anybody else to make a mistake. One person answered everything and consistent. So I decided to restructure the business with the permission of Olivia Lam. I was met with very violent reaction from the team, accusing me as a Singaporean, stupid Singaporean who doesn't know how to do business in Singapore to come and mess up the business. Fortunately, the chairman, Olivia, supported me. From there, we activated audit. We found out about this conflict of interest and this side business was still happening. We consulted external legal specialists in this because very, very sensitive at that point. The manpower, labor policy in China was very pro-employees. So even if you found something to terminate and fire the employees, you still got to pay them to fire them. Totally a shock to me. But we had to do it. Okay? So we actually terminated them with payouts and big payouts. And then we had to just rebuild the business. So from here, about doing the right thing for the rest of the staff, the rest of the team who saw this whole thing. And the whole thing that we went after, we went after the people in a fair, professional manner. We were not targeting them on a personal basis. Okay, so there's a bit of a no loss of face. It's very important for them, right? And then maintain our core values. Doing right for the company, you just got to protect the assets, protect the financial, the reputation, stem the losses. And then, of course, the government to respect the law. Now, while we do all these things, right, sometimes they don't play the same game. My family were all threatened, right? So threatened because of this incident. So we have learnings like this, but I think I just want to finish up one slide here and leave this with you all. I found this little quotation here from the website there. It talks about character points to the foundation of a person. Now, the individual with great character is one who is secure, that means stable and everything, in his or her identity, and through that security, the person chooses to affect something rather than being affected by something else, by somebody else. Okay? So, and therefore, he concluded by saying character is a cornerstone of a person's psychological structure. Now, I found it meaningful because, for me, the link to what the philosophy of Tan Kah Kee, just doing the right thing, resonates in me, resonates on a daily basis, because we are faced with challenges all the time. Okay, with that, I thank you very much for listening. Thank you.